I asked a guy one time, it's been many years ago, I said, what did your television cost? I knew he was a great television watcher. He said $400. I said, that's not true. He said, no, I paid $400 for this television set. I said, let me tell you what I think it's costing you, because I know what kind of talent and skills you've got. I think it's costing you about $40,000 a year, not to own it, but to watch it. It's not owning a television set that's expensive. It's watching it that's expensive. What else could you do at that time? One, if you've got plenty of money in terms of lifestyle. But if you haven't got plenty of money, what if you took the television time and properly employed it by learning a couple of extra skills? No telling what would happen to your income. I mentioned this to this guy. He got so inspired and convicted with my little talk there that he had his brother-in-law bring over his pickup and haul away his television set. He said, I've got a new philosophy. I'm going to take my TV time and turn it into fortune. All it takes is an idea, and it doesn't have to be that radical, but he wanted it to make a statement. Let's get this thing out of here. And later, we had another television, but now he learned to shut it off and use time wisely. But at the moment, he wanted to prove to himself that he was ready to do something radical. He said, Jim Rohn is right. This television is costing me a fortune. Not to own it. Owning is cheap. Watching it's what's expensive. So you just have to learn to ration the time. Television is useful, but you got to wisely use it. It's like food. You must wisely use food. In leadership, we teach enough food to be healthy and gather strength, and no more. You just have to learn the no more. Make that your philosophy. How much rest? Enough to be healthy and gather strength, and no more. Why would you spend any more than just enough to gather strength and be healthy on both food and rest? But if you overindulge in food and rest, they become a detriment now, not a support. So I think if you look at things that way, let them serve but not intrude. It's like a television set. If you let it serve, fine, but if you let it intrude on everybody's time, the average family watches television, 7 hours a day? See, that's probably too much. It's not that the television isn't good, it is good, but it's too much time devoted to one fairly intrusive instrument in your house. So let it serve, not intrude. That's a good philosophy. I find if you come up with a philosophy and an attitude, it helps to set the tone of things you don't do, correct, rearrange, turn upside down, try it another way until something works better for you. I think that's good advice. How many stories do we hear now of some people that are addicted to the computer? The wife says, honey, let's go. And he can't let go. He can't shut it off. Then you know you've got a problem. So I think everything, doesn't matter whether it's alcohol or drugs or a computer or being online. I found out, not from my own experience, but from others I know, it's possible to be online and off track. So you got to make sure when you're online that you're not off track. But it's not difficult to be online and off track in terms of time allotment, what absorbs your attention. If all of your thoughtful time is used for busy time rather than creative time, then the encroachment on your creative time is just probably too heavy. We need time to think. Napoleon Hill's book says think. Nowadays, they say, get online. Napoleon says, no, think and let's grow. Let's all think and grow rich. Think of better ways to do things. Think of a better time, a day schedule. Think of better ways to be creative, not just busy. One of the great time management savers is to learn to ask questions up front. Sometimes you talk to somebody for an hour, and then you ask questions and find out if you would have asked those questions up front, you could have saved yourself an hour. Asking questions up front helps you to get to the problem now. But if you just launch into some discourse, you might waste 30 minutes, waste an hour, when here's what you should have been talking about. After you finished an hour, you say, John, what's really the problem? He said, something personal. See, that's what you should have been talking about this whole hour. Next, learn to think on paper. Some ways to think on paper. One, solving problems. Take it out of your head and put it on paper. Another one is setting goals. Here's another good way to think on paper. It's a projects book. Each person you're working with and each project you're working on, get a loose leaf binder and a tab and some pieces of paper behind the tab, and do a little continual summary of how it's going between you and that person and between you and that project. I call it a projects book. It is so useful to me. What's going on between you and this person? When you last got together, what did you talk about? And you got a few notes there. Here's what we talked about the last time we got together. Now when you get together again, you can review that so you'll know better what to talk about. When the president gets ready to travel and he's going to meet some important people, guess what they bring him? All these briefing books. If a person is important, it's worth a little running account. You might even have a projects book for your children. Here's what's happening between me and my child. We've talked about this, and we've talked about this, and we've talked about this. Next, a day timer. Keeping track of all of your appointments. Mine is all filled with when to catch an airplane and when to do a seminar and when to sit down and have a conference, all the rest. Next is a game plan. If you've got a house and the insurance is going to come due and some other things are going to come due, you just put it on a spreadsheet and make sure it's taken care of. Key phrase, take things out of your head and put them on paper. And the key is to just experiment with different ways that helps you to do that. Now here's the last one, thinking on paper, and that's to keep a journal. One of the things I'm known for around the world, have been now for 39, 40 years, is keeping a journal. Here's what primarily your journal is for: collecting good ideas. A journal is to collect good ideas on your health, good ideas for your business, good ideas for your future, good ideas for time management. Now, if you're caught without your journal, you just take the notes when you get back home. You put those notes in your journal, throw the paper away. Because we don't usually go through paper to review. But see, my journals now make up a significant part of my own library. My journal's all reserved privately for my children and my grandchildren. Can you imagine what I've collected over the years? It's unbelievable. There are 3 treasures to leave behind. Here they are. Number 1, your pictures. Don't leave the event unrecorded. It takes only a fraction of a second to say, here's who I was with. When I travel the world, we take all these pictures, and here's one of the gifts. People send me the pictures they took of me and them. It's part of the treasures I have on the farm. Incredible. A picture's worth 1,000 words to describe the scene, the emotion, what happened. Say, wow, this was an extraordinary day for me when I met these people. Here's what they told me happened to them when they went to my seminar 10 years ago. Wow, the drama comes back if you've taken the pictures. It's one of the treasures to leave behind when you go. Here's what's next to leave behind, and that's your library. The books that changed your life, the books that changed your health, the books that rescued you from oblivion, the books that you passed on to other people. They were so exciting for you. The books that made you financially independent, the books that developed your leadership, the books that gave you wisdom to ponder when things were tough, the books that got you through the winter, the books that helped you to plant in the spring and the harvest in the fall. What a treasure to leave behind. If you do that, here's what's for sure. Your books will be more valuable than your furniture. Now, the third treasure to leave behind is your journals. The notes you took that helped you to live life as you lived it. Long after you're gone, a treasure that children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren will find so fascinating. They may use it to help guide their own life into their own future.